Click the link in the description to go to aoa.com, the best place to buy Skull and Bones silver cheap. Use code DTG for 3% off at checkout. Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we're playing Skull and Bones, and I'm going to be taking another crack at the pieces of 8 in this game. Now, I did an initial video kind of discussing these and talking about how to get them and all that sort of stuff, and I cover a lot of the basics, so I'm not going to go over all the basics of what they are, what they're for, all that sort of stuff in this video. All I wanted to do is kind of do an updated guide on how it's best to earn these. Now, I don't totally disagree with all the stuff I said in that first video. I think that the way that I do it there, where you kind of just get every single outpost you can in the one region and kind of level them up to about level 4, and then you can do supply runs where you can get 100 pieces of 8 from each one. That's definitely very, very tedious, but it's also a quick way to get to the point where you can much quicker do the upgrades that I'm going to be talking about today, which will in the end make the pieces of 8 system a lot more convenient for you. So that's going to be our guide today, is going to be looking at the slightly more advanced pieces of 8 gathering, I guess, even though in the end it ends up being quite a bit simpler and a lot less tedious. So just looking at it, if you want to look at your, once you've gotten to the point where you've unlocked the Helm and you've unlocked the Helm Empire and you can start earning pieces of 8, you'll get this little tab in your map where you can view it and fast travel and do all that sort of stuff. So if we click on that, you can see it gives us this layout of all of our pieces of 8. Now, I've seen a lot of stuff online where people are saying, to unlock, I want to say it's the coast of Africa, and then there's a specific way you do it. I'm not talking about any of that. I think it's maybe a little bit unnecessary if we're being honest, just considering once you've gotten to the point where I'm currently at, you can gain pieces of 8 at a rate that, kind of makes it so by the time this season is done, because we have 70 days left in the season, you should have purchased everything that costs pieces of 8 that you want, and you can just stockpile pieces of 8 for whatever they add afterwards. So I don't know that it's necessary to unlock any of the other regions, because once you unlock one of these, you're going to be constantly getting notifications every 30 minutes for takeovers and stuff like that, and I just find it to be excessively annoying how often you get notified of things in this game. So, but anyway, what you can see here is, like I said, I have all the locations in Red Isle, and I had them all up to 4, and then I kind of started dabbling with uploading or upgrading some more after I had purchased some of the more important schematics that I wanted. I figured I might as well start working on it again because I realized that the amount that increases capacity-wise from level to level with these outposts is not static, it's compounding. So once you're at level 4, like I said, you have a production capacity of 110 pieces of 8. So if you have all of them at level 4, that's a little over 2,000 pieces of 8 for one run, which, like I said, it doesn't take very long to get them, to unlock them all and to get them all to level 4. So you can do that, and then in one run, you can get 2,000 pieces of 8, which is a good way to level up and a decent rate of earning them. That being said, it's very tedious. They don't run very long because once you fund it, it only lasts for a couple hours and then you have to fund it again, otherwise it stops producing. They only have the capacity of 110. They only have a production rate of 40 per hour. So, you're limited in what you can do. So like I said, I think it's better this way at first, because if you start out just going straight up the top, you're going to be doing multiple runs with no gains trying to upgrade the same place. So it's just going to be a lot slower. But like I said, you can see it's not a static gain. From 4, we have a capacity of 110 and a production of 40. And then on our next one, it shows at level 5, it goes up to 44 and our capacity up to 150. Then, so you can see that we have one at level 5 right here. Then you see 45 to 150, that goes up to 49 and 300. So that's, the production rate only goes up a little bit, but the capacity doubles. And then up to level 6, it goes up to, we're at 44 and 300. And you can see at the next one, 47 and 800. So that's over, it does more than doubling on that one. And so that's what I'm saying, like, they eventually cap out. So the most expensive upgrade you can do is going from level 9 to level 10 in one of these outposts, and that costs 5,000 pieces of 8. So as you're going, it doesn't make sense to keep grinding out. Once you get to the point where you're collecting 1,000 or 2,000 pieces of 8 per run, then you should start just stacking the ones closest to St. Anne, because that way you can just start doing high level runs. And I like to do the ones in the same region because, they get their trade route bonuses and stuff for each other. So you get those percentage bonuses. So you can see for these 2 level 10s, which are the only ones in this region of the Red Isle, we have a production rate of 81 per hour for that one, and 78 per hour for that one, a capacity of 4,500. So if this gets all the way full, you collect 4,500 pieces of 8 from the one location. And when you fund it, it funds it for 2 days and 2 hours at level 10. So you only have to fund it once every 2 days, and it can constantly produce up to the point where you have 4,500 pieces of 8 in there. I collected these ones last night before I went to bed, and you can see we're up to almost 2,000 pieces of 8 per level 10 outpost, in the ballpark. ballpark up around there. So I can do a run quick and I'll collect several thousand pieces of 8 just from four locations. And so generally speaking, kinda based on that gain rate and what you can currently buy with pieces of 8 in the game, if you can get 5 locations set to level 10, that's more than enough. You know, maybe 6. I might finish off this one here, even though that one's further out of the way, just so I have this whole region here. If I had thought about it before I started unlocking these ones, I probably would have just done these 2 regions. I would have gotten these 4 in this one and these 2 here. That would have been 6 total, and you could just do a little loop and then back to your home base. Take barely any time at all. Very little navigation. You don't have to go through any of these little rivers and everything. Just a much better route in my opinion. So if I had not already upgraded these 2 in here, I would have done these 6. But so that's all the pros of doing it this way. Like I said, once you get to the point where you're gaining 1,000 or 2,000 pieces of 8 per one, I definitely recommend just start upgrading until you got them up to level 10 because it's a much more efficient system. But with that in mind, the downside of this is it's really expensive to fund these manufactories for 2 days. I can't show it to you here because I currently have all 4 of my level 10 ones funded, but it costs somewhere in the ballpark of 60 to 70,000 silver to fund one of these. Now, mind you, like I said, it's funded for 2 days then, so it's not like it's a bad deal. But, you know, that's a big chunk of silver all at once. So you do have to spend enough time collecting silver if you want to run it this way. But with all that being said, let's just run around and do a quick pieces of 8 run so I can show you. We're going to go from 132. I'm going to go collect just 4 locations. We're going to start with Palisade Bay. And so you can see landing back at St. Anne, we got 7,400 gold there. So a decent gain, I should say. And that's, again, 4 locations. So it takes, you know, it wouldn't have even taken me half as long as it did, but I stopped for a little battle that I could have just kept running. I didn't need to engage in that. So definitely a much better way to go. And now the way I'm doing this, because I just don't want to do a ton of pieces of 8 runs every single day, especially considering now I'm spending more of my time focusing on generating silver just so I can keep these ones supplied. You can keep supplying all the rest of them and then, you know, every couple hours do a run. And yes, you will gain more pieces of 8 that way. Your overview over here will show you on, you know, on the left-hand side there what you actually are gaining per hour. So with only these 10 open, I'm only gaining 306 per hour. But in doing so, I only have to do a run every, you know, once or twice a day, and I am able to gain, you know, giant amounts of pieces of 8. So that is all I wanted to show today. It's a pretty short and simple video. Like I said, once you've gotten to the point where you're gaining them fast enough, just start leveling up just a few right around St. Anne all the way to level 10. Keep them funded, and it's realistically a much more efficient way to do it. But yeah, that's all for today. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.